Hello again, everyone. This is Randy, your sewing machine man, and what we have today is a special treat, a very, very rare little machine. These were around for, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago, something like that. And they have the cartridge that you load and put in. There's self-threading and all that. We'll get into that in a second. But first, this one came in because the bobbin winder wasn't working. This is the Disney, what is this? Sewing Embroidery SE-270D. And this is the little guy that has the cartridge. Chunk. We'll get to that later. This one came in because the bobbin winder wouldn't work. And the cool thing about this one is that it takes forever and 3 minutes to get the daggone thing taken apart just to replace the bobbin winder ring, which sits back under here. See a little rubber ring under there? Let's get it to turn so you can see it up there. That's the bobbin winder ring right there that's turning. Now, on a regular machine, one of the old school machines, it takes probably 5 seconds to replace that because it's exposed on the outside. And that's when I say the machine's easier to work on and not easy to work on. This one is a reconditioned, and of course, my experience with the reconditioned, I'm not saying this is a fact, it's just a hunch. But based on the fact that I get a lot of these reconditioned machines, I think they send them back and they just repack them and sell them to somebody. And what happened here was the old one, the old wheel up there had melted. I got to get all that rubber off there. It just melted. Maybe it was in a hot storage place or something, but the rubber melted. I don't know if there's a particular kind of rubber they make in China, wherever this thing was made. Where was this thing made? Usually it says where it's made. I'm not sure. It's easy. Let's see if it says where it's made here. Quite often it's there on the bottom, but it's somewhere in Asia. I don't know who their supplier is, but that's what you get to do. It takes probably, I don't know, 20 minutes to get it apart just to replace the bobbin winder ring. But we'll get it all back together and then we'll show you this bad boy stitching and tell you more about it. Yeah, well, we're going to do that after we do this. Here we go. Let's get it going here, see how that works. And of course, before you put all the screws back in, and that would be about 10 of them to get it all back together, you put the one in the upper left-hand corner and the one over here after you plug all your components back in to make sure that everything's plugged up and ready to go, because you don't want to get it all back together and then figure out that you didn't plug something up. So you put the cassette in, and then it'll say lower the press foot lever because you know to do that. And then you know it'll run because it at least told you that. And you want to make sure it winds the bobbin, which is why you're fixing it to begin with. And away she goes. So now we'll get it all back together. And the next video will be its sewing, hopefully, because these are notorious for being kind of cranky. Cranky is a good word. There's other words, but I've used better words, and cranky is a better word. I'm learning to use my better words. And the process for winding said bobbin on the SE-270D Disney. You, of course, going to be putting your thread on here with the stop, and they're showing you to feed it over here, and then down around your guide, and then over. And I always make sure that I put it up to the hole, you know, bring it around, bring it up through the hole, up to the hole underneath. Let me get my tweezers in here where I can do some emphasis pointing here. Right there's a little hole in the bobbin. Put it up through from the bottom, and then when you engage it, and then you hold it, and then it'll cut the threads flush because you don't want it sticking out. Now I'm doing it this way because I have a thread stand, and I didn't get the thread or the spool stop from the customer. So we're going to do it this way, but basically it comes from the end of here straight over, and this is the way they've designed it, and it works, but you have to have it set up properly. Can't have any drag on the thread. And then this adjustment right here, you can loosen that, and you can cantilever this over to make it fuller, or back to the left to make it smaller. You can have it cut off wherever you want to cut off. This one's going to cut off when it gets right to the touch point. Probably about half, 3/4, something like that. Right along in there, it's going to touch. And then it's going to stop whining and cut off. So that's pretty close to full. So that's getting the bobbin winder. At least we got it working like a charm. Now we'll see if we can get this baby sewing. And of course, that's always the issue with this because it is self-threading. When they say self-threading, they mean it's going to be a hoot getting at the thread, because you put the thread in this cartridge, and then you load the cartridge, and as you're loading it, a spring-loaded affair comes down and supposedly threads the bobbin automatically. Now, it's never going to work. If it does, it'll be 1 out of 10, 1 out of 5. It's just a random, it works, it doesn't work. And a lot of the new ones, even the top of the line Bernina, on their website, they say it's a 50% probability of it threading itself, which means it may do 2 and then not 2, may do 4, then not 4, may do 5 and then not 5. At half the time, in the law of high numbers, half the time, like flipping a coin, it's going to work. But that's 16 grand. This one here is probably a couple $100, but it doesn't really work either. So self-threading, when my customers say they have a self-threading machine, I always go, tell you what, let's put the thread close to the machine so we can reach it. And let's go have a cup of coffee and come back and see how well it did. Self-threading. Folks, there's no such thing. When you look on the box and it says self-threading, they're lying to you. Put it back on the shelf. If it's self-threading, you don't have to be there, right? Yeah, that's just logic. Okay, well, this one, whenever it starts the threading proposition and the thread swings down, I always grab the thread and hold it, and then I snip it, and I put it through, and I thread it myself. And then that way, my head doesn't explode. I'm trying to work with something that won't work. This machine, I'm not sure they still make them. I think it was promptly discontinued because it got sent back to a lot of folks who are upset, and they're like, I'm not doing this. So they sent it back and got another machine. So I see a lot of these that are reconditioned, which means somebody sent them back in, they put them back in the box, sent them back out. I don't know how that process worked because I wasn't there, so I'm just guessing. But I get a lot of them reconditioned, and it's just a failed system here, so you have to work with it. Once you get it going, it's just a regular Brothers sewing machine. But forget about the self-threading and all of that, because this one came in needing a bobbin winder. So here it is. I don't know, hour later, we got you a little video. If you have one of these, bless you. If you're going to look at one to buy these, skip it. I give it 2 thumbs down if you're going to buy it, but you've already got it. Make the best of it, because you know it's what you got. So that's the Brother Disney Sewing and Embroidery SE-270D. My wife Patty sells, everybody says hi from Patty. See ya.